Hello, Mitchell.
Hello, Jamie. Can I welcome you to episode 29 of Positively Board Gaming?
You can indeed, and welcome anyone who's listening or watching along. We are happy to be here today for episode 29.
And keep on saying 29 because, as I told you before, it'll help me. It'll hammer it in so I don't say something stupid in about 10 minutes. It'll be good. Keep on doing. Do your job, Jamie. Hammer that thing in.
So with our 29th episode, do you have... Well, I have a sense that you have some fun stuff happening this weekend. Do you have a treat that you're thinking about for this weekend or that you've already had recently?
Well, the treat is my brother coming in to visit. My brother comes in. It's become a yearly thing. He and his girlfriend, Nicole. Now, he's coming in today, the day of recording. And then Nicole is coming a few days from now. We will get her from the airport. Then they will have a trip here together. So I'll have some gaming with my brother. And then we will have some larger group gaming. Although we do have this weekend. My buddies Jack and Eric are coming over. We will have a 4-person gaming table set up. But that is my treat, having my brother in town and Nicole, getting to spend time together. I don't mind that I moved out here years ago because I found love. I found my life, my family, my people. But I also have people that are still in New York, and it's hard, sort of managing that, my dad, my brothers, my nephews, my sister. So it's wonderful to go back there, but to also have them come here. And I still feel like out here is a family place as well, not just for my wife and my kids, but my brothers and, sisters-in-law and my dad. So it's always nice when those worlds converge, and it makes me very happy. So that is my treat of the day. What about you? What's your treat of the day? Is it edible? It's going to be edible, isn't it?
Well, I am. First, I want to say I'm so excited that you get to spend the weekend with your brother and hang out and play games and eat some good food and just have a great time. So that is a treat for me that you get that.
Thank you.
This weekend. It's actually this weekend is my brother's birthday. My brother's birthday. Andrew, he'll celebrate his birthday.
Happy birthday, Andrew.
5th. Yeah, so I'll give him a call that day. He has 4 little kids, and so he is very busy with those kids and his family, his wife. But hopefully I'll call at the right time and we can chat for a little bit. That'll be a nice little treat.
That'll be awesome.
I don't know.
Are the kids pretty close in age?
They are. They range from, I believe, 10. I think he had them essentially every 2 years. So 10, 8, 6, and around 4. I think there's one that's a little bit younger. And
that's a lot of kidage, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah, I have a brother and a sister, so we have a 3-sibling family, and my sister has 3 kids. My brother went with 3, and we thought we stopped there because he's used to 3-sibling family, but he kept on going, and he's talking about having another one, which I don't know what he's going for here with 5 kids, but. Yeah.
This is why Stonemeyer Games has to support so many people, folks. You just heard it right here, because he has built-in family members. That's going to be a big gaming table. That's a big gaming table.
Yeah. I need to have a game that can play up to an entire family. Essentially, I guess we have a few. We have a few that play at the same.
That's beautiful, though. I love that.
Yeah. So maybe that'll be my treat of the day, or related to this weekend. Yeah. Do you have anything that's been on your mind that isn't a main topic, but something that you've been thinking about?
You mean a little before we start?
If you want to call it that, yeah.
You know what? I'll call it before we start, just because I've gotten used to it. So this is interesting. This is something really cool that came out of something that was really sort of not great for a lot of companies. So we talk about how COVID and tariffs and all that, the things that came from that sort of changed the landscape for a lot of people. It changed the landscape, especially the gaming world, all the tariff situation, and it changed things for a lot of companies that, lost their business, lost their companies. It's just a lot of bad stuff came out of that.
Yeah.
One of the companies that I was really excited to see, and I mean, to see, like, when the Kickstarters came about, Elf Creek Games, I was a big fan of, and they put out great games, great deluxeified games. And, they had a lot of trouble with the tariff situation. We're not going to go into the details of that, but my heart kind of went out because it's a company I really liked and they made great games. And I had actually backed an expansion for Merchants of the Dark Road and Santa's Workshop with deluxeified bits. I was really excited about that. So when everything hit with them and things sort of went in another direction and we heard, people might not get their games, and there was radio silence for a while. And sometimes silence is the worst because you fill in the blanks. You don't know what's going to happen. I got an email the other day from Elf Creek Games that the games are being shipped, and they had an angel investor come in and reorganize the finances. and people are going to be getting their games. And it was just not a nice ending to the story, but it was sort of a nice addendum to something that I thought was gone. I didn't hear about, and I sort of didn't pry into because I knew things weren't great. And just to get that email that people are going to be getting their games, they're getting addresses, and people have to take, there's going to be new shipping models sent in, which I totally get. And, some people aren't as forgiving about that stuff. You have to pay twice for shipping, but, I'm happy to be getting my games. A lot of people are going to be getting their games that never thought they would. I'm glad to see the company reorganized and getting healthy again. So, like I said, they have a new person stepping in, taking over. So that was sort of a nice thing before we start, to see something, a happy ending to something that I did not think was necessarily going to have a happy ending. I didn't know what was going to happen, but you saw that email, because again, when you don't hear about something for months and a year, you figure, okay, I have to let this go. But then once you let it go and all of a sudden you hear, oh, I'm going to get my game. It was sort of a nice thing. It was sort of nice to know that people were still going to get their game. So that made me happy. I was sort of happy for people that invested in it, and that a lot of people are going to be getting their games, and hopefully those games and that lineup will continue to thrive in the future. So that was my before we start.
Well, that's lovely. I got that email too. I have a little bit more of a bittersweet response to that, due to some stuff that I can share with you off air.
Right.
I'm happy for Elf Creek's customers.
Yes.
But there's a level that I try to be involved with, I'm glad it's in new hands, I guess, is the best way I can say it in a positive way. And I'm glad the customers are getting what they or at least some of what they ordered from Elf Creek.
Yeah, we never really talked about it because I knew you had a connection there. Yeah. And again, I didn't want to ask and fight, but yes, we'll talk about it off the air. But yes, if you're a customer and you had, sort of thought, oh, this is never going to happen, it is going to happen. So that's sort of a nice thing for the folks out there that have been excited and have been wanting to get their hands on a great game that they love, or great games that they love, because they're opening up their whole library for reorder as well, which is really kind of cool. So there we go. And I feel like opened up
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I feel like I opened up a can of worms now. Like, oh my God, what have I opened up now? Did I say something I shouldn't have said? But no, I'm speaking from a customer perspective, not knowing the inner workings. And people should know that are listening. I don't know the inner workings. I didn't have any sort of inside information. If you were, someone that, bought in and did the Kickstarter, I'm just like you. That was my perspective of this, my point of view. So yeah. What were you going to say? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I was going to celebrate the company All Play, who served as they had the warehouse, the fulfillment center for Elf Creek. As Elf Creek, the person who was in charge of Elf Creek became unable to do those types of things. All Play came in and did a great job to help out with that. They aren't the angel investor, but they've been really helpful in keeping that element of their business.
Yes. Going. And they do great stuff on their own as well. I mean, just their own game stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So that was my before we start. You have a before we start? Before we start? I have to say it twice.
Before we start. Yeah. Mine actually no. Yeah, a little one. I had a lovely playtest night last night with 3 other local designers. One of whom was actually Pete, my co-designer for Origin Story. Pete's a lovely guy in the area here, good friend, and he was one of them. And then Paul Solomon, who actually designed Honey Buzz. That's from Elf Creek.
There we go.
And then our friend Jake, who hasn't published yet, but he's a great playtester, and I think he is becoming a great designer. So it was really, usually I playtest with not designers, like I playtest with Megan or my coworkers, and I love their perspectives, but it's also really neat to get the game in the hands of designers who poke at it in different ways. So I'm grateful for the time that we had last night to playtest different games.
So let me be clear. This is another game of yours, because this is your game you're playtesting, correct? Or at least a Stonemaier game.
We each brought a game.
And you each brought a game.
Yeah, I think we played 5 different games. I had one. We played like 30 minutes of my game and then 30 minutes of someone else's game, and so on around the table.
Okay, I'm just clarifying for those people that thought that Origin, we heard that Origin Story is the last game of this year, obviously, last new Stonemaier game of this year. That doesn't, and I'm putting this out there, that doesn't mean that Jamey ever stops working. Just because the game is imminent does not mean he stops working. It might be the last game of this year, but remember, next year is only a few months away. So Jamey is always going, always putting effort into his new project. This is what I like. I'm going to call you the prolific one. It's Mitchell Whitfield joined by the prolific one, Jamey Stegmaier.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm trying to learn, or I think I am learning, that giving my games more time to breathe and evolve is good for them. I think that was the case with Vantage. And this is a game that I've been working on and Origin Story too. It's been in the works essentially since 2015 in various on and off forms. This game that I'm working on right now, I'm giving it plenty of time. Where our docket is actually full for 2026. So this is at best a 2027 game. Wow. And I'm glad that I had that time so I can make the best version of this game possible.
Well, you're also in a very enviable and very wonderful situation that you created yourself, which is your company has so many wonderful games that are evergreen. Games you designed 10 years ago are just as popular now as they were 10 years ago. Yeah. And this is a lovely thing and not something that happens all that often in this industry. So because of that, because you have games that are evergreen, that are constantly being, reprinted, that are always being purchased, that people are always talking about, it gives you the luxury of, it's sort of like what I talk about in life. Life is divided in two lists, have to and want to. And the whole point, the whole goal in life is to get as many things off of that have to list and put them on the want to side. So that's my big theory on life. So you're in a luxurious position where because of the success of your games, you don't have to get that next one out to keep that engine going because your games are still doing so well. So bravo for you, Jamey. And it's good. It benefits you and it benefits the consumer as well because you get to put as much time as needed in those games without having to rush them to print, which is great.
I think you've summed that up very, very well. I would say somewhat of a privileged position, but it did take a lot of work to get there and to find the right people to work with. And so there is always some luck involved with these types of things, but a lot of hard work from a lot of people, including me and many others who put their time and effort into making these games potential evergreen games. Yeah.
And I love that you give other people credit as well, which is something you always do, which is what makes you such a good person. So enough of me going on about Jamey this, Jamey that. Wow, I sound like a petulant child. Well, no, I'm the one who's doing it, not you. I'm the one who's saying, I love Jamey. Jamey's so good at this. I'm like, I'm going to stop doing that. No, you don't do that. I'm the one who toots your horn. I'm fine. So we both have, if you listened before, if you haven't listened to us before, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're joining us on the YouTube channel, Stonemaier Games YouTube channel, or podcast, however you're listening, our format is sometimes we'll always usually have treats of the day. We'll do before we actually start. That's why I say it twice. And we'll each bring a topic to the table that the other person is not really keyed in on. We don't know what the other person's going to say. So, Jamey, what is your topic for episode 29? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Episode 29.
Yeah. That's why I said you're going to have to keep on hammering it in. Jamey, what is your topic for episode 29?
So this is a topic that I've had on the list for a little while. But it came to mind recently because so my topic is partnership in games. Partners/partnership in games. And it came to mind because I played in a charity disc golf tournament just for fun this past weekend. And it was called a 3-person scramble tournament. So I had 2 teammates and we would each throw the disc and then we'd pick the best throw and then we'd throw from that disc and so on. It's a very relaxed and fun way to play because every now and then you have a great shot. You help out your 2 teammates. Every now and then you have a terrible shot, but you have 2 other teammates that might have already thrown or are going to follow you with a great throw. There's not a lot of pressure on you to do great, but it still feels great when you do well for your team.
Okay.
And I think this topic originally came to mind when, just for fun, every now and then when I go out and play my weekend disc golf game with friends, every now and then we play doubles instead of singles, which is exactly like what I just described, but with 2 people instead of 3. And so it got me thinking about this topic. I'll lead off there, but I'll throw it to you for a second. But this topic of partnership in games, when the positives that come from having someone else by your side that you are relying on or trying to communicate with. Maybe it's a game with limited communication or some more communication. In disc golf, you can say whatever you want. It comes down to your dexterity skills, essentially. But do you have any games, any partnership games where you are a partner with one or more players that you really enjoy? Could be tabletop. It could be a sport like this, but
first of all, let me just say something about disc golf because it just goes to show you how people's brains and how their psyche and their emotions run differently, right? You were talking about this, how it like takes the edge off because you have your partner with you to pick up the slack and to help. For me, I would actually find that more stressful because if someone else makes a great shot, I would feel the responsibility, man, I better follow this up with a great shot because I don't want to be the one who ruins that great drive. And I simply have an easy shot to get it in, they call it the net, what they call it, the net, the basket.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who goes, and I didn't do it. So I would put, not because of any pressure that someone else would put on me, I put extra pressure on myself to make sure. And I wouldn't care if I took a great shot and then someone didn't do a great shot after me, I wouldn't care about that. I'm not that way. Like, how dare you ruin my great drive? And now you step in. It's not like that at all. but I would feel the responsibility of, wow, that was a great throw. I hope I followed it up with something decent. And I'm not even a disc golf player, but I'm sort of putting myself in that position. So I would say the two games that come to mind that had those feelings for me were my most recent campaign games. Would be Descent Legends of the Dark and Kinfire Chronicles, where there's a lot of communication. So it isn't like we can't talk to each other and say, okay, what do you think we should do? What is the best thing here? Because sometimes you have that partnership and the limited communication sort of limits, obviously, what you can say. And then you feel that extra like, okay, here's what I think will best benefit us, but I hope there's something I'm not seeing that, I hope there's not something I'm not seeing. So I don't. And with these two games, with Kinfire and Descent Legends of the Dark, there was so much communication and there was no alpha gaming, which is great because those situations, it's easy for someone to come in, and for someone that doesn't know the term, it's when someone sort of comes in and says, no, here's what you should do. Basically, someone takes over your turn or a group turn and says, no, here's the best thing we're going to do. We're going to do this. And we don't really do that with each other. But these situations would be the times where that would come in. Because even sometimes in a competitive game, someone will step in and go, no, dude, I mean, you really just do this. Trust me, it'll help you. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you know the game better than I. And you give in. You're like, I shouldn't have given in. Well, I should have taken my turn. So these are opportunities definitely for alpha moments. But my groups, and it's two different groups I played with, did not do that. It was really sort of, no, okay. And I felt like in these situations, I'm always looking out for not just what's best for the team, but what would really benefit my partners. I rarely look at what will benefit myself. It's always like, okay, what will benefit you guys here? And in certain situations, Jamie, I'm sure you have this too, certain situations have these chained moments, these domino effects, where one thing sort of opens up the domino effect to have this incredible turn where everyone benefits in sort of the circular, this one long turn, which is really multiple turns. So those two games come to mind with those sort of moments where I'm really relying on my partners, and it usually works out really well. I think because we really are looking out for each other and we love the game so much, we want to do what best benefits the game in that moment. And sometimes if there's a story, you tell me how you feel about this. If there's a story involved, sometimes there's something interesting happen where you really want to see, oh, what's this? And it's happened in Vantage too. Yeah. It's happened in Vantage where I'm so intrigued by, okay, we bumped into this person. That's when my brother's like, I'm going to fight him. I'm like, don't fight him. So it's like a jokey alpha. I'm like, please stop starting trouble with that guy. He's not doing anything. They're taking pictures on a cliff. Don't go. Who fights with a guy taking pictures on a cliff with his family? Potential family. I don't know. They're not human, so we don't know. So I'm always intrigued when a game like Vantage and some others as well give you these moments where you may change your path just due to the fact that something interesting and we're all of the same mind. So I think we're all chasing those interesting moments, not necessarily we're going to win this game today. No, this game is fun. It's meant to be enjoyed and explored. Let's go take this path because it might not, win us this moment, but it's certainly going to be a great story. So I'm going to add Vantage also to that list because definitely we have those moments where, again, we will take a different path just based on the fact that we can, and we want to see what happens because it's interesting and fun.
I love those cooperative examples. That was actually a different way that I was thinking about it. But you're right. In a cooperative game, you are partnering with all the other players. One classic game, Spades. Spades is a classic competitive partnership game where you're relying on another partner. You can't communicate fully with that partner, but you have some subtle, not subtle, but you can pass cards back and forth at the beginning of the round. And then one that I played somewhat recently is a game called Concordia Venus. Oh, it's a version of the game Concordia, where you can play with partners. If you have at least 4 players, you can play with partners. I think it was up to 6 even. And I played it a few months ago and was just really intrigued by this idea that I am in full control over what I do in my turn. But what I can do, some of the cards that I play can directly benefit my partner, and vice versa. And it was one of these games where I was playing it for the first time with a partner who is very experienced in Concordia Venus. And Sean, I was playing with Sean, and Sean, like every now and then I would make a suboptimal play, but there wasn't that alpha moment because Sean couldn't control what I'm doing. I was still doing something that was good, just not fully optimal. And then on Sean's turn, he would come through and almost like make up for it with a stronger move that would help our partnership. And it was just really neat to see. It had been a while since I had played a competitive partnership game like that. And it avoided those moments. there were moments in the game where I realized, oh, I did something suboptimal. I've kind of hurt my partner here. But in that game, he was able to make up for it. In disc golf, you're absolutely right. I worry about that when I play 2-player disc golf, where maybe my partner misses an easier putt, which happens all the time in disc golf.
Right.
And in the partnership, you're like, okay, now it's my time to shine. I can step up. I can make up for this thing that I have done all the time too. And then if I miss the putt too, that doesn't feel great when that happens. But yeah.
Let me ask you something. And now that I understand it better, you're right. It wasn't what exactly you were saying. I have a better example. But when Sean made that move, and you're like, oh, okay, that really helped me. Did that change? Because the nice thing about those moments, those are almost like learning moments within a partnership. Like, yeah. Okay, now that you've done that, and I see how that was a more optimized version of a turn that I could have taken. Did it change your approach from that game on? Like, okay, now I know I can do this to benefit this. Does it change sort of strategies mid-game when you have like a learning moment like that? Oh, okay, I could have done this, so now I can go. Does that happen to you during games as well, where you have these learning moments with a partner?
That definitely, yeah, it happens. It definitely happened in that game in particular, where I observed the way that he leveraged those moments. And it for the most part, it gave me insight as to what I needed to pay attention to about what Sean was doing, about what my partner was doing in that game. Like an example of one of the cards in the game is I play this card, and the card says your partner plays a card. And so I need to wait for a moment where my partner has a really good card in hand that he can play, that sort of thing. Or I need to look at the number of cards that he's already played or hasn't played. And so as I got more into the flow of the game, I was like, okay, Sean is looking over at my side of the game to see my game state, and he's timing his cards based on what he sees. I need to pay more attention to that.
That makes sense. And I think now that you mentioned that, now that you mentioned spades, bridge is actually a fantastic version of this. And for those of you who haven't played bridge, the bidding system is an opportunity, because some people are playing with a dummy hand. That's not human. Based on how the bidding comes out, one person ends up sitting back and the other person plays the dummy hand. It's crazy. But the bidding system is an opportunity to let your partner know, because you can't say anything, what you have, what you're strong in, what you're not strong in. And then during the game, the cards you play, yes, you're playing to win tricks, but sometimes you're also playing to give up taking the lead, and who's going to take the trick and giving over the lead to your partner, because they have a card that can only benefit both of you if they have the lead, if they are initiating the trick. So there's this balance of like sending this subtle communication of how you let your partner know that, okay, I want you to take the lead now, because my hand from this point on is more complementary than single player aggressive to take tricks. So there's that balance. So I think that's more of what you're talking about. And that subtle communication, just by what you do or don't do, it could be one number off from the card that you play, can send a signal like, oh, okay, I know what you want me to do now. Because at a certain point, you kind of know, based on the bidding and how things play, you kind of know what your partner has without knowing what your partner has. And that subtle communication is so interesting. And bridge can be super competitive. I mean, it is a super competitive game. It's a cerebral game, but I've seen people go bonkers in a not good way over getting the wrong communication from a friend. That's where you have to have the right group. And the right group is going to kind of feed in a little bit to what I was going to talk about today. So yeah, having the right group is a huge part of what you're talking about as well.
Well, let's segue over to that. Yeah, thanks you for your thoughts about this. I'm curious. I'm definitely curious about that. And what is your topic about group dynamics? Or
a little bit. It's going to feed into it, and you're going to play a part in this, because I really want to hear what you have to say, because we both have experiences in this area. And we talk about on our show, if you want to bring someone into the hobby, how would you do it? What games are good for that? I thought we'd give some tips and tricks for people that have never hosted a game night, have always wanted to host their first game night, and little things to think about hosting your first game. Now that I've said it 3 times, it's about hosting your first game night. I can already see this episode's going to be naming itself. It's going to be great. Little tips and tricks for hosting your own game night. And I think there's certain things we take for granted because we've done it. We've both hosted and gone to others. And I think there are people that would probably like to dip their toes into the hosting waters, but maybe they're not hobby gamers. Maybe they haven't hosted before and didn't really know what to look for. So I wrote down a couple of thoughts, and I want this to be like both of us, talking about it. So here's what I wrote, because when I put on the glasses, Jamey, stuff's about to get serious. This podcast is about to get serious, Jamey. So first, obviously you're not going to have a game night without having people over to your game night. So the first thing I thought about was the number of people. And Jamey and I have both talked about the fact that we've had, especially as your game night evolves, you're going to have more people that probably want to come, unless your game night is just awful. I'm kidding. We don't do that in Positively Board Game. No one wants to come to my game night. I must have done it wrong. So obviously people are going to want to come. So I would say, Jamey, and I want to know your thoughts about this. We both hosted and been to game nights that, you know, where the numbers start to grow over 6 people. Like, okay, now we're talking about breaking up into groups, playing 2 separate games, maybe playing a big party game first, and then breaking up into 2 smaller groups of like a regular, you know, 1 to 2 hour game or 3 hours, whatever you're up for. My feeling is, and tell me how you think, I think starting off smaller is better. Especially when we talk about the other things about what games to pick, tastes, all the things that people have. I think starting off smaller is better just because it's more controllable. You're able to sort of pick a game with a smaller group and not have to worry about picking 2 games because there's going to be that, what do we play? What are your feelings about that? I would probably keep it, you know, maybe 4 people for the first time.
I like that approach. And I would add that I like that approach partially because one thing that I'll throw in here related to this directly is that I think if you are not someone who regularly hosts a game night, like the topic is your first game night, like you have not hosted or you at least do not regularly host a game night.
Right.
I kind of like the idea of saying, this is a game that I really want to play. Do you want to get together and play this game with me? And that constricts the player count. It kind of sets the tone for the evening and it lets people know why they're coming to this game night instead of going to maybe their other regular game nights or going to this one in addition to those. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Jamey, because also that lets people watch a rule video, watch something to maybe learn a little bit, do their own homework about the game. And then when everyone comes together, you can have that shared experience of like, oh, let's go over the rules. If you didn't watch that video, whatever, I send people a Rodney Smith video or, I'm just saying, so talk about prolific with all those game, teaching videos. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. Keeping the group smaller and letting people know in advance, because that takes out some of the stress of, oh, what do we play? And sometimes people get analysis paralysis when it comes to picking a game. Because again, you want to satisfy different people. And I think at least when you have a smaller group, you're less worried about that. But I think you nailed it. I think picking the game in advance is a good thing. And then as your group evolves, not just how many people, but which people are you going to invite? Because people are different types of gamers. You have people that, again, are more alpha gamers, are more competitive. And you have to sort of, and yes, you're going to have different friends that come over and you're always mixing friends and mixing aspects of your life. Oh, I know this person from work. I know this person in my family. And, you're always mixing, and or is this group going to mix well? But I think the temperament and the like-mindedness of your group will come into play in terms of the experience you have, especially if you have people that have never gamed before or have not been to a game night before. Do you have someone in your group that's ultra competitive? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not shaming ultra competitive gamers, but when mixed in with newer gamers that maybe are there to have a shared fun experience, you have someone that would rather be ultra competitive and really wants to sink their teeth into a game that they know well and win that game. Again, nothing wrong with that, but know your group is something that I would say as well.
I like that. And that is a good broad way to say it, because there are lots of different scenarios here. Like you said, you could be doing this because you want to get some coworkers together. You could be doing this because you want to play games with another couple, or maybe 2 other couples if you want to go up to 6. You might be doing this because maybe you attend a regular game night and you enjoy playing with certain people at that game night, or you're just excited to play a certain game that you were talking about with those people. And so you might be pulling people who are regular gamers and saying, hey, do you want to, I know we usually get together every other week, but do you want to get together this Saturday and play Dune Imperium for a few hours? That sort of thing. Right. So I think it vastly depends on the audience you're choosing for the game. And I think it is okay to choose a few people to start out with. You're not excluding the other people. No. You're deciding who's the best fit for this thing, especially since it is an irregular game night for you.
Yeah. And again, this is designed for people that have never done this before, have wanted to do this before. And again, having a more controllable situation with people that are more like-minded. I want to let someone know that no, Jamey is not about to be arrested. And nothing,
Can you hear that?
Nothing seems to be on fire. No, but there's something going on in St. Louis, folks, because we heard the cops before. Now we hear the fire trucks. No, this is good. This is like an added experience. People are going to have this sensory. It's like, what went down in St. Louis when Positively Board Gaming heard the whole thing live? No, but I think it's, again, because this is for people that have not done it, it's going to be a first experience. make it more controllable, make it easier, not in terms of controlling people, but sort of take out elements that could lead to, confusion or different gaming styles. Just try and make it easy. I think making it easy for yourself is better than more controllable. It sounds less like manipulative, but yeah, make it easy on yourself. So we talked about the group, number of people, temperament, game. What kind of game? Now, I went back and forth. I thought cooperative might be a fun way to start, but I think there are probably many more competitive games out there. And I think it can be a good experience to have a competitive game that is not to take that, because again, we want to encourage people to come back. And I think when you're having a first experience, a take that game that can be punishing to people. And I mean, take that could be like where, it's not just the flow of the game, but you're doing things that could purposely set back other players or hinder other players from taking their turn in a way to help you with your, win the game. Yeah. So maybe avoid take that. I don't know. Maybe I'm hypersensitive to take that games, Jamey, but am I off the reservation here? Is it, what do you think about this?
I think my take on the game choice, especially coming from what I said earlier about choosing the game, potentially choosing the game in advance, is so normally I would focus on the other people, the attendees, but I think you can do that by who you invite. Honestly, I think that the game itself doesn't matter all that much as long as you, the host, are really, really excited to play it. I think that excitement is contagious. So if someone were to email me after I get off this call and say, "Hey, Jamey, I am really excited to play this new game that I got," or "I'm really excited to play this game that I played a dozen times and I know you like it too," that excitement, that's like an excuse to choose that game, to play that game with someone who is really excited to play. That to me is almost enough. And there might be a case, you're right, there might be a super take that game, and I'm as the invitee, I'm just not in the mood for that. But I can just say I'm not in the mood for that, and you can invite someone else who is in the mood for that. But I get excited often when someone else is really excited to play a certain game.
Yeah, me too.
I wonder if that might be enough for this.
I think you're right. Or, we can make it super simple. If you're your first game night, just play Quacks. Make it easier. Make it easier on yourself. You know what? Take it from Positively Board Gaming. You can't go wrong. It's competitive, but it's fun. It's easygoing. Simultaneous gameplay, so you're less likely for everyone to, take. It's an easy bet. You know what? I'm only half joking. I just think Quacks is such a great first experience for a game night for people that have never played. But no, Jamey's right. I think if it's something that brings you joy, and if you're excited about sharing that excitement with other, I think that is enough. So I mean, I would probably stay away if you have new gamers at the table. I would maybe stay away from something that is too punishing, and we've talked about punishing games before. And what I mean by that is where if you don't do something, not something wrong, but if you make a choice early in the game that can't be recovered from, and you have new gamers at the table and someone's just sort of sitting there for like the next hour because they took a turn that didn't optimize, that could be kind of rough. That could be rough. And again, the idea is to have an experience that you want to repeat. So maybe that was one caveat, just to sort of be aware of those kind of games that could be punishing early on if it's a game that you do know well. But yeah, that would be my own. But yeah, what Jamey said too, just the joy of wanting to share something will be contagious, and you have the people with you at the table that are going to want to experience that too. So I think that's great.
Well, I do think that's an important lens. It is a slightly different lens. It depends. Again, it depends on the audience. If you were inviting people to one of their first game nights ever as well, that is, I think then you do have a big amount of responsibility for choosing a game that they will enjoy. That isn't just all about you. I think maybe I was looking at it slightly more through the lens of people who it is for you, you're hosting for something that you don't do often, but with people who you already play with or things like that. Yeah.
Right. You're right. I had a little layer to it by making
you did.
I created this whole new, okay, Jamey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create this whole situation and make it more difficult for us to answer each other. I'll make these last two kind of quick because we're running out of time. I don't get me wrong. I would love to have a dedicated gaming table. They are gorgeous. They are expensive. They are not cheap, folks. Is it Game Toppers that came up with a table you could put on top of a table? Is that the company? Yeah. Which is really kind of cool if you want to put a game table on top of your table. So not everyone has the perfect table for gaming. I would not stress out about that. Any dining room table, any kitchen table should suffice as long as you have the room to support the number of people and just sort of know the footprint of the game itself and how much room it takes up. But one thing I would recommend, and Jamey knows I'm a fan of this in terms of like individual player mats, but I would get a neoprene mat to cover your table with, not just to protect your table, but it makes dice rolling much easier. And people don't even think about this. It makes, if the game has cards, it makes picking up cards that much easier. And I know, Jamey, we talked about, I know that's why Jamey is so good about putting offering neoprene mats with his games. Because again, when there's a card on the table, and again, sometimes to get your nail under there, you bend it too much. You're trying to get the, it's like just, it gives you that extra little push to get under stuff. So having a neoprene mat really could, I think, makes a great experience. And they make them in all different shapes. So many different companies make them. You can look up, neoprene game mats for board game mats. They're great. And I mean, I don't encourage people to spend more money than they have to, but I think if you're going to be having a game night, don't you think it's like a good thing to have on the table at any given time, especially if the games don't necessarily have neoprene mats as part of the kit, as part of the game itself?
If you are making one gaming related purchase before game night, I would say that is a good one to make. Yeah.
I think it benefits everybody. And last thing that's near and dear to Jamey and our hearts, of course, the food aspect. I'm a big believer in eating before the game or after the game and not during the game. And if you have snacks during the game, they can't be anything with any sort of, coating or flavoring that's going to turn your hands a different color. That might turn the components a different color. Jamey, do you get anal about food and like handling of game components during game night, or do you not think about? Because sometimes I'll see my friend dip into something like, I was like, I hope the popcorn isn't dusted with white cheddar, because I'm gonna have a white cheddar monk on my table, and I don't want my monk covered in white cheddar because he's only 30 years old. But go ahead,
if it is someone else's game, I am very aware of it. If it's one of my games, not as much. Partially because I'm a publisher, I see so many parts and pieces. I know how to get more parts and pieces. But if it's a friend's copy of a friend's game that they're really proud of, I'm like, please be careful with this game. Yeah.
I'm the same way. I don't like sit there. I don't sit there. I'm not like, the fun police. Like, I see you had an M&M that didn't, that did melt in your hand clearly. And I prefer if you don't touch that token now. I don't actually sit there and do that, but I am very aware of other people's stuff. Like, I want to make sure that I'm, if we just ate, and, it's funny because one of our, the one that Jack hosts at his house, the food is amazing. And the food is, all the like ribs and savory stuff. So I make sure, like, I'm scrubbing my hands. I'm like, make sure I have nothing. I don't want to be that guy that leaves the red spot on the car that has to be replaced. So yeah, I don't demand it of people when they're playing my games, but like you said, I'm hyper aware when I'm playing somebody else's game. So there you go. Yeah. So yeah, hosting your first game. And again, we'd love to hear if you were hosting your home, or if you've had experiences at first game nights, or you're looking to host. What are things that you think about, or what things did you bring to the table, figuratively and literally? We would love to know that as well.
I would absolutely love to know it. And I really love that you brought up the topic, because I think there are a lot of different scenarios here, but I think maybe one of the most common ones for people who listen to this podcast is they maybe have an outlet for playing games on a regular basis. But if they are not the host of that, that means that they probably are not hosted all that often. But it is, not for everybody, but I think it is fun to host every now and then, and having a format for doing that is great. So I love that you brought up the topic. I'm also curious to hear if anyone has a favorite partner-driven game or partnership game, specifically probably competitive, but I like your cooperative example too, if you really feel like you're partnering with another player in a cooperative game as well.
Your example is better. The competitive. Okay. It took me a while during explanation. I was like, oh, I blew it. I better come in with bridge and save myself. No, but it's great. And like I said, please do comment, because again, we get so many of our ideas. You guys are all great about giving great comments and giving us ideas to bring to the table. Maybe it'll lead to another crossover, because that's where our last crossover, our only crossover topic came from reading one of your comments and thinking, oh, that would be a great thing to bring up as my topic of the day. Well, I've thought of it too, Jamey. So thank you. Thank you for episode 29. Thank you all for joining us. Our next episode, Jamey, we are turning 30, and that's when things turn dark. Clearly we are over the hill. We are not equipped to do this anymore. We're not kids anymore. People are going to have expectations. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that episode 30. I don't know why that stands out to me. That's a big one. It's like my 30th birthday was like, whoo, I better get it together. I'm kind of a grown up in age, but not mentally. So yeah, please join us next week. Jamey, thank you for doing this. As we always say, I look forward to this every week, and this did not disappoint. It never does. And please join us next week as well for the big 3-0. Jamey, have a great week. I'll see you then.
You too.